Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I want to talk to you guys about something that I've gotten quite a few comments on in the last few days, from the Twitter DMs to the Instagram messages, and I've seen people raise this up in the comment section on a few videos, which is now that Boruto is facing down Hidari and appears to be vulnerable to Jura potentially falling after via a claw mark. Some of you guys have begun to question, is this the moment that we see the mythical, magical Muska eye known as the Jougan, which is why in today's newest Naruto Explained video, I wanted to discuss the eye that never seems to go away in the fandom, the Jougan eye, and look at why this may or may not be the right time in the manga for the eye itself to debut. Longtime viewers of the channel, you guys all know my stance on where I fall with this, and really any new power that you don't see, not just in the Naruto franchise, but just in Battle Shonen in general, which is that the where and the when and the why for a new power when it gets shown for the first time, it is more important than the power itself. The reason being is that time is the one enemy that, as a creative, whether you be a content creator, an artist, a musician, a writer, or even a chef, just to name a few examples, time is always undefeated. You can try all you want to, and you can arguably make something better than before than when people first experience something from you. But there's a reason why the expression first impressions are forever, and there's a reason why that expression exists. That song that's playing in the background when you dance with your boyfriend or your girlfriend, it will always be there in some special place in your heart. There's no getting past that first time. Nothing will replace that feeling. In Naruto, for instance, the moment where Kakashi was copying Zabuza's hand seals when he used the Sharingan, it's just an iconic moment. No Sharingan copying jutsu moments after that will ever come close to it. It's just ingrained in our minds that that is peak. Same with the first time that Naruto used Sage Mode in the fight against Pain. That entrance and the aura that Naruto had, no other display of Sage Mode will ever surpass that, even though there are versions of Sage Mode Naruto that are way stronger than that Naruto. In Dragon Ball, that moment where Goku first transforms into a Super Saiyan in the manga, the transformation is the peak benchmark for Super Saiyan transformations, and the same holds true for Super Saiyan 3's transformation. Those moments, they are not topped in the franchise because of the feelings they generated for the mass public. Gojo's Unlimited Void has been used multiple times before, and as crazy as the last time that we saw him use it, the best time in my opinion, that first time where he used it to flex on Jogo, is gonna remain the definitive and most iconic scene from Jujutsu Kaisen's story. So I say all that to say this: with Boruto's magical Muska Jougan eye, timing, it is everything. We have to ask ourselves this very important question: is this the moment right now, truly the best moment to maximize the payoff for shooting your shot with debuting that eye? Let's look at the groundwork that's been laid down right now in terms of the narrative. He just saved Himawari from being devoured by Jura. He then teleported to Sarada's location and stopped her before the Uchiha family got another cherry blossom tree planted somewhere. He's staring down Hidari in the middle of the battlefield, in the village at that, in a fight that is potentially going to do some larger scale damage, assuming of course they don't contain the output of the damage from their attacks to only the surface of the enemy that they're hitting, which I think that's the most likely scenario, even if it annoys the people who still looking for flashy big explosions and etc., because it makes them feel like the fights are bigger and the characters are stronger. Typical shonen meathead consumption mind state right there. In my humble opinion, I don't think right now, even if you throw Jura in the fight because he sees Kawaki show up and he hits him with the 1-inch punch and then he super kicks him in the face and it knocks Kawaki unconscious, and then he just backhands Delta unconscious right after that, and the guy just moves through the claw mark to Hidari's location and they just gang up on Boruto. I'm not sure this is the moment that you want to pull the trigger on something like that with the Jougan eye here. I'm not saying you wait for some above god tier character to show up. At that point it becomes very plot convenient, but I also don't think that we've hit a level of tension and despair that a reveal like that is warranted for right now. And I feel like this way for a few different reasons. Since this is a sequel to the Naruto sequel, let's use Naruto's manga as a really great example for this. Why was Naruto using KCM2 for the very first time so insane to see? Why was it so iconic? It's because just prior to that, we had Naruto max out his KCM1 abilities, and he was about to be captured by Obito before Kakashi and Guy, they showed up. The two eternal rivals were shown keeping up with the speed of KCM1 Naruto, and they were coordinating their attacks for a time, and they were covering each other's weaknesses, and it was an amazing display of teamwork, which was a testament to how skilled each of these people were. And we kept seeing Obito, despite the odds, continuously swinging the odds back in his favor just when it seemed like the good guys were getting the upper hand. Obito managed to tip the scales back to himself, and so he regained his aura. It reaches its boiling point when the guy finally says, "I've had enough of this." He unleashes all the Biju he still has control over on the battlefield, and this is where the story goes. This is the moment to show off this new power. It has now been earned. You got Kakashi revealing he can Kamui away all of the Biju Dama that are about to be fired, but he knows it'll kill him as a result. You got Might Guy saying, "No, Kakashi, I'll use the 8th gate to bring down all the Biju and protect us from this attack, but it'll kill me as a result." Basically saying, I'm going to leave the masked guy, who we all know as the audience in hindsight was Obito, I'm going to leave that guy to you. That's where we get the reveal of Naruto using KCM2, and we had Kakashi going, "Bruh, this is the 4th Hokage who saved us." And he's like, "Wait a second, it's that goofball Naruto." Then we see him counter by himself multiple Biju Dama using his own power, and that, my friends, is how you introduce a new power in a way where everyone comes out of this entire scenario looking very strong. Nobody is devalued. The supporting characters like Guy and Kakashi, they don't come off looking anywhere near as bad. The villain Obito comes out looking really strong because it's showing that the hero needed this insane of a build-up to counter the monster move that he just played in the battle. Finally, it makes Naruto feel that much more invincible before the story eventually humbles Naruto down a bit to show him that even this iconic power is not enough to take down the enemy before him. But by that point in the story itself, the reveal, it left goosebumps on your arms, and it had you reading through the chapters faster to see what else could Naruto do while simultaneously making Obito look stronger. It was a win-win-win-win. A duo of Hidari and Jura, they weren't positioned, in my opinion, in a position where they warrant that kind of a reveal yet. We have too many variables on the table right now that make this whole thing different. For starters, we've yet to see Boruto's full power in base yet. We don't even know how close to his full power we've seen. We need to establish that before we ever get to the reveal of a new power. It diminishes the moment where you reveal something like that if you don't even know how close to the breaking point the character is. Just busting out an eye in the manga continuity that we've yet to see him use outside the first chapter at this point, that feels like it'll be very random fan service. It's not needed at this point in the story. It'd be introducing a power for the sake of introducing it, which that wouldn't be ideal if we're being honest. The other issue that we run into, in my opinion, is that you have the problem that we have not seen the full power of the enemies on screen yet either. Jura literally tells us that he was showing a glimpse of his power when he bodied Himawari when she was using the Nine-Tails Chakra. Hidari, 2 minor skirmishes in the manga so far. He clashed Chidori versus Rasengan with Boruto very briefly, which makes no mistake, that's very impressive on his end given how strong Boruto is, and he had a very brief fight with Sarada and Konohamaru, which is basically she tagged him with Chidori. The conversation took place, and then there's a sneak attack to take down Sarada. Class Rep gets taken down via sneak attack, and then Konohamaru very shortly afterwards gets sent flying across the battlefield by deflecting Chidori, and some random Jonin gets burned to a crisp. Not anything to really write home about. They need more heat before you pull a trigger to make them feel truly worthy of seeing a new power like this be shown. Maybe after you see Boruto fight with them and you get a situation that is increasingly worse for the main cast, maybe you can justify it then. It will be a much better reveal and a higher payoff if we see this eye used the first time, and it comes as a direct result of Boruto being pushed to full power in his base, and he needs something to give him the boost that he can't use Karma for, since we know he can't properly use Karma. Having that eye be used by then, that's the moment that the narrative, in my opinion, is something that would build towards to make it feel earned. The reason why I say that this eye needs that kind of a treatment is that the powers that the Jougan has, that's not something that you just randomly drop into a story right now. It has to be a moment that holds its own. A moment where, say, in 5 years when Boruto's manga ends, we look back and we say, this is the moment that stands out. This is one of those iconic moments. We know based off of the production materials that were released 7 years ago that the Jougan, much like the Karma Seal, were things that did not have too much thought giving into them because there is a mandate with chapter 1 when it was being worked on, which we learned from Mikio Ikimoto himself, that the flash forward sequence, it was Kishimoto's idea. And the whole idea was just to make Boruto, who was 16 during that scene according to the anime spreadsheet, just look drastically different than he was the last time fans saw him in Naruto Boruto the movie, which dropped in 2015. Very smart business tactic to get people talking. There was no thought on what the patterns on Boruto's body were or what the eye were. It was Kishimoto saying, I want things to look drastically different, so let's go pull in Akira Toriyama. Let's just do it and we'll figure out the rest as we move on. By the time the anime began production late in 2016 for the early 2017 release, we learned from the old blog Shang-Chi Wong, the guy who, if I'm not mistaken, is the one who animated the flash forward fight of Boruto and Kawaki in episode 1, the taijutsu fight of 6-pass stage mode, Naruto and Rinnegan Sasuke against Momoshiki in the anime episode 65, and the updated flash forward sequence at the end of the final anime episode 293, so from when Kawaki's walking on the side of Hokage Monument to when he and Boruto are fighting at the end of the episode. On his old production blog, which has since been taken down, he said that the eye Boruto had, which at the time was hotly debated by Japanese and Western fans, was neither a Byakugan or a Tensegan, which yes, there were a lot of people who thought that this was a Tensegan. Enough so, my guy Swag Kage was smart enough to make a video on it back in the day, cash in on the hype around it, and explain, hey, this is not a Tensegan, get your eyes checked. And Shang-Chi Wong basically said the author at the time, Ukyo Kodachi, who has since been removed, was still figuring out what the powers were, and that the only thing he knew for certain was that the eye was linked to the Otsutsuki clan, in particular their dimensions, and that it had the power to sense chakra on a level that surpasses any of Naruto's sensory abilities. So Sage mode, Kurama mode, KCM2, 6-pass Sage mode, it exceeds all those sensory abilities, and it has the ability to see the chakra pathway system on a level that is better than the Hyuga clan's Byakugan. For something like this, you need the right debut, and I personally don't think that this is the moment. Maybe if it's a 4 versus 1 and Boruto was fighting all 4 Shinju like he was in the V-Jump magazine cover from last month, then I would totally get on board with it, because it would definitely make sense for a truly helpless situation. Not even Boruto could overcome those odds. He ran when he was in that situation. I know this is not the answer some of you guys are hoping for, but that's sincerely how I feel on the topic. As I've said before, if I'm hype about something, I'm genuinely hype. If I don't think something's a good idea, I'm not going to sugarcoat it either. I respect you guys as an audience too much to not give you my honest opinions. This is sincerely how I feel, and I feel just as sincere that you guys will enjoy the every First Division member of Kaiju number 8 video if you're a Kaiju number 8 fan. So click here to watch that, or you can click here on the other side of the screen for the Boruto chapter review for those of you guys who have not seen it just yet.